Good morning, class 8. Before this, we studied about the exploring of force and also the change of the state of motion. Now we are going to see force can change the shape of an object. So how the object change its shape by force? We'll see. Here one table is given to explain about this. That first description of the situation is given in the table. Then second, how to apply force is given. Then diagram is given of some pictures that force is applied on them. Then we have to observe all this and note in these columns change of the state of motion and change in the shape. So here pictures are given that floor, the force is applied to the floor ball, then the person is sitting on a bicycle seat, then one rubber is given that is stretched and another putting a weight at the center of the scale. With the plastic metal scale is given and between two frictions is shown in this table. So you have to observe and note down your observation in the table. Then next is, what do you conclude from the observation? Note in the table. Then you have to note down in that table your observation. What happens when you apply a force of an inflated balloon by pressing it between your palms? So what happens when you are applying force to a balloon between your palms? The shape of the balloon will change by pressing it between your palms. What happens to the shape of the ball of a duck when it is rolled to make a chapati? Again here shape will change of that ball of duck. What happens when you press a rubber ball? When you are pressing a rubber ball, the shape will be change of the ball. In all these example, you saw the application of a force of an object may change its shape. So in all these example, you saw the shape of it will change by applying force. Having performed all of the activities, you would have realized that a force may make an object move from rest. Then may change the speed of an object if it is moving. Then third, may change the direction of the motion of an object. Then also may bring about change in the shape of an object. Again may cause some or all of these effects by applying force on an object. So all these changes you can see when you are applying force on an object. While a force may cause one or more of this effect, if it is important to remember that none of this action can take place without the action of a force. Means without any force or without any action of a force, the action cannot take place without the action of force. So the object will not change shape without acting force on it. Thus an object cannot move by itself. It cannot change speed by itself. It cannot change direction by itself, and its shape cannot change by itself. So for all this, speed, direction, shape, to change all this, what is needed? The force is needed, and by the force, all the shape, direction, speed can change. So this was about the force changing its shape of the object. Now we are going to see contact forces. So what are contact forces? Something is coming in contact between two, that is known as contact, and force, you know, applying force. So here some contact forces are there, like muscular force, and another will be friction. So what is that? We'll see now. Can you push a lift or lift a book lying on a table without touching it? No, you cannot lift the book lying on a table without touching it. Can you lift a bucket of water without holding it? No, we can't hold the bucket. Without holding, we cannot move the bucket. Generally, to apply a force on an object, your body has to be in contact with the object. So, for applying force on any object, our body must be in contact with that object. The contact may also be with the help of a stick or a rope. When we push an object like a school bag or lift a bucket of water, where does force come from? Means when we are applying force or we are moving the object like water bucket or a school bag, so where does the force come from? The force will come from our body. This force is caused by the action of muscles in our body. The force resulting due to the action of muscles is known as a muscular force. So muscular force, the meaning is already in that. Muscular means muscle, and the muscles which are present in our body, they apply force on the object, and by that the objects moves or change or speed, shape, everything changes in that object. Animals also make use of muscular force to carry out their physical activities and other tasks. Animals like bullocks, horse, donkeys, and camels are used to perform various tasks for us. In performing this task, they use muscular force. So you can see the picture here. The bullock cart is pushed or carried by the bullocks, and they are applying their muscular force on the cart, and they are pulling that cart from one place to another. So muscular force of animal is used to carry out many difficult tasks. Since muscular force can be applied only when it is in contact with an object. So muscular force can be applied only when it is in contact with an object. It is called a contact force. So you understand the meaning of contact force. The muscles, the muscular muscles of our body comes in contact with an object for applying force, that is known as contact force. Are there other types of contact force? Yes. Let us find. Next is friction. Recall some of your experience. What are the experience? A ball rolling on ground gradually slows down and finally come to rest. When we stop pedaling a bicycle, it gradually slow down and finally come to a stop. So when we are riding bicycle, it gradually slows down. When it slows down, when we stop pedaling, comes to a stop. Again, a car, scooter also come to rest once its engine is switched off. Means car, scooter are running, and when the engine is stopped, they also stop. Similarly, a boat come to rest if we stop rowing it. Boat also in water we are rowing, then only it moves, and if we stop rowing, the boat will stop. Can you add some of more of the experience? Yes, you can add. In all this situation, what happens? No force appears to be acting on the object. Yet their speed gradually decreases and they come to the rest after some time. Means here force is not gradually acting on the object. Means force is not there. But the water, the directions are opposite. We'll see that. And they come to rest after some time. What causes a change in their state of motion? So what are the thing that change their state of motion? Means they are moving and then they stops. So what change state of motion is there? Could some force be acting on them? Can you guess the direction in which the force must be acting in each case? So what happened? The force is acting on their directions. The force responsible for changing the state of motion of object in all this example is the force of friction. So this is the force of friction. Force of friction means, again I will explain you, that water and boat, between both the force is there, and that is the friction force. Again the ball rolling on ground, so ground and ball, they both come in contact, and that is known as the force of friction. It is the force of friction between the surface of the ball and the ground that brings the moving ball to rest. Similarly, friction between water and the boat bring it to stop once you stop rowing. So this is the friction. So understood, friction between two objects and apply, and the force is given there to stop or to move. So this is known as force of friction. The force of friction always act on all moving object, and its direction is always opposite to the direction of motion. So direction of motion, so the both are in opposite direction. When ball is moving on the ground moves in opposite direction. When the boat is moving on water, the water moves in opposite direction. So this is the opposite of the direction of motion. Since the force of friction arises due to contact between surfaces, it also an example of a contact force. So you will learn all this again in detail in the chapter number 12. You may be wondering whether it is essential for the agent applying a force on an object to be always in contact with it. So this is the friction of force, and also contact forces. Muscular force, then another is friction force. So all this we studied about contact forces. Next we will see in next period, that is non-contact forces.